Hey you guys, here's a little help on this project. This portion of it goes really quickly. So here's how you're going to tackle this. One, you want to have Excel or some kind of spreadsheet software open. And if you take the project, I have it kind of filled in. This is the original one I sent out back. Actually, I hope if it's not the original, I'll send an updated one to you. But I should have given you all this data filled in, and it should be loaded on Blackboard. Maybe I'll even email another copy just to be extra thorough. But if you copy that, what's in that Word document that I sent to you, actually what I'm thinking now is it's probably a PDF, but I'll take care of that. But you copy that, you can actually paste that entire thing into Excel so you can have all that data in an Excel document. The rest, I wanted to have you guys develop these values within Excel because that's always good to be able to use a little more of the formulaic aspect of Excel. For instance, like the percentage here. So let's talk about what we have first. Price of shirts, and then we have the people who want them. So self is in you students of Drake University, and the parent stuff is, generally speaking, somebody you're close to that probably, the deal is they're willing to pay a little bit more. They're willing and able. They have a steady income. Makes a big difference. The older you get, you really do find yourself in a more stable position to make purchases. And what happens is this cumulative data we're going to use as like a little snapshot of what the Drake Relays crowd would look like. You're relatively diversified, kind of a good indicator of what's generally what students are willing to pay for shirts as students probably in School of Business or Pharmacy or what have you. But business calc groups are pretty diversified. And then the parents, we just got some adult data from people who talk to some adults and others who talk to relatives, etc., who are willing to pay for a shirt. And so we're saying, seems like a reasonable target market would be those attending the Drake Relays. And we just took a sample of those that we know ourselves and people that we know, figuring that's a pretty good indicator. Total, 35 of you I've got data for, and then 35 parents, adult members, family members, people that you talked to. So if I take and look at that cumulatively, our demand data is about how much people are willing to pay and how many people are willing to pay it. So what we're going to do is we're going to go by percentage. So the total people, 70 people, that's 35 and 35, and we're going to get each percentage by basically adding these two numbers up, the self and the parent numbers together, and then dividing it by 70 to get a percentage. And that's it. So if you watch, I'll show you how the formulaic business works. I'm going to hit an equal sign in the first percentage column under the 100%. And if you want, actually, let me escape out of that. If you ever start a formula and you want to change your mind, hit escape. But if I hit on the 100%, I can actually make that a formula as well. If I hit equal, and what I do is I take the sum of these two cells. What I'm going to do is the self 35 plus the other 35 that's in D3 on my cell. And what I'm going to do is get a total for that. Now if I'm going to total those, I'm going to have to put them in parentheses. I'm going to divide the sum of those two. I want to divide it by the total 70. So I'm going to put in a divided by 70 underneath there and hit enter. That's a formula because it's after an equal sign. There it is, 100%. Now what I'm going to do, since that formula is just taking these numbers to the left, adding them up, and then dividing it by 70, I'd like to do that for every one of these. So I'm just going to drag this out. Grab the lower right-hand corner with the big black plus sign, pull it down. There you go. They're your percentages. If you look at each cell in the contents, it's the two cells to the left added and divided by 70 for each one of those. Now that will help us because now our market, where demand is about number of people willing to pay a certain price. And so we need to get the quantity of people, not percentage of people. And that's a pretty quick calculation. What we're going to do is take whatever our total market is, this 25,000 interest, and we're going to multiply it by the percentage rate. So when you want a total, you take the quantity times the percentage rate. We've got this. Now you can either, if you click on the 25,000 above, you're going to have to do something kind of fancy pants. You can write 25,000 in there times and then this cell to the left. Or you can do something real fancy. Again, feel free to write 25,000 and then go. So you might be doing this right now, 25,000. Times is the Shift 8 key, so it's a little star. And then you click on that 99%. Boom, it works. There's your percentage. Okay, or that's the 99% of 25,000. I'm going to do it a different way here as well. I'm going to click on the 25,000 so that any number I put in there in that top column, let's say my population, I change it to 50,000, this will work accordingly. The only thing is when you drag out a formula, that F3 will keep changing unless you put dollar signs in front of the F and the 3. And it's actually, you only need to, technically, you'd only have to put it in front of the 3, but for safety, I'm going to do both. Okay, the dollar sign means when I drag out the formula, the F and the 3 will not change. It makes them constant. Okay, times, I'm going to click on the percentage, 99%. So instead of 25,000 times E4, now it's this cell times E4. Okay, so we will always reference that 25,000 as I drag this out. Watch. Every cell in here has that F3 in it with the dollar signs. So now if I change that 25,000 to 50,000, all my numbers change accordingly. So that's why I like doing the formulaic version of it. You can keep that consistent with 25,000. There you go. There are my percentages. There are probably a lot of decimal places going on there. Probably willing to go with the whole numbers, I think. So I'm going to actually take and limit this a little bit a little later. I think the cells option to limit the number of decimal places is pretty easy. It's up here somewhere. So I'll get to that later. Anyhow, this is your basic spreadsheet of percentage of people buying at a particular dollar amount, and then out of 25,000 people, here's how many people are actually buying at that. Now the demand curve that we're going to come up with. So this is basically, we finished this part A over here in our function modeling. We got the data in there for 25,000 people. That's our target market. Strategy we've dealt with. We didn't get into a huge strategy to go with this. Our idea is that we're going to assume our classroom and those that we know outside of the school of Drake are probably reasonable enough. And then if we go down to part C, it says, now let's go and get our model for this demand curve, and we use either a linear, quadratic, or logarithmic model to make that happen. So what I'm going to do is I really only need the price and I need the total market demand numbers. Those are the things I need. Now there's two ways we can make this happen. One, in the spreadsheet you can copy and paste these so that they're side by side. That might be a good option. So I'm going to copy that whole cell I just highlighted, or series of cells, and paste it below, and then go to total market here, copy. Now when I paste this one, I got to be careful. You paste, you click on the cell you want the paste to start. I'm also going to choose under Excel Edit something called Paste Special, because if I just paste it right now, it's pasting a formula and it'll give me a bunch of kind of gobbledygook, because it'll paste the formula about multiplying the number to the left by, basically this 25,000 is being multiplied by what number is to the left, 100% and such. Well, that's not going to work if I paste it down here. I want to paste special and choose the option that's called, or you just want to paste the values and not the formulas. Currently it's at all. So under paste special, under the edit menu, I'm going to choose just the values. And there it is. So you get all this stuff. It also doesn't give you some of the formatting, and I had some formatting like with borders and things like that. Doesn't matter, not for our purposes. What I do need is those two columns side by side. Is one way to get a nice graph. You just highlight them both like we did central, so swipe down the middle, not the lower right hand corner, swipe. And then you go up to your chart of some kind. So we're going to take chart. Nothing's showing on mine, so I'm going to go to all under insert chart. I'm going to go down to scatter, just like we did in class, and pops up our graph. And then from there, we want to go and say, it's got a nice linear look. I think linear sounds good, but we're going to try all three models and see what we get. Add a trend line. If you right click or control click on a data point, add a trend line is one of your options. I'm going to choose linear first, and then under options, right below, you want to make sure you click on both display the equation and display R squared value and put them in the chart. So there we go. Those are the things we need. Okay, so there's your linear model. Okay, take that and run with it. We're going to do this again. So put that off to the side. Make another. So I'm going to click on, I'm going to highlight this again, do another chart. Now we're going to do the quadratic. So you scroll, 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 and you get this all together. Whoop. Did you see my scatter? Did I just miss that? There it is, marked XY scatter. That is interesting how it disappears like a bunch of different places. Funny. There it is. Anyhow, right click, control click, get your add a trend line. We're going to do something different. Quadratic would be under type, and polynomial order 2. So type polynomial order 2. There's your quadratic, but I didn't show it. Let's say you accidentally hit enter. You can right click on the trend line itself and do format that trend line to get those options back. display equation, and r squared are always what you want in order just to see what it is you just came up with. Put it off to the side. Let's do this again. Okay, there's your quadratic, and then one more time we'll do it for a logarithmic. So highlight, good old charts, scroll a little, get my scatter plot going on, good. Oh, forgot to do the trend line, so you quick right click on a data point, choose my type and a logarithmic. And if I take that logarithmic and I accidentally hit enter before putting in the data or the equation in the r squared, just go to format trend line, and you choose options, and you choose display, and you're good to go. There's your logarithmic. Okay, use those. The rest, you can move forward on just coming up with your equations, and there's some instructions below. But those are your 3 equations. You want to get all that into the table. Come up with a revenue, cost, profit function for each scenario. That is for linear, quadratic, and logarithmic. And what we'll do is then do some of the calculus stuff based on the stuff that you come up with. All right, hope that helps. Email if you have other questions. And I have to hit